people. So we're up here at Mount Buffalo, and welcome everyone. Pretty cool events last night with the Skywatch and the meet-up. Now I just want to start this with recognising the original people, the original spirits, the guardians of Mount Buffalo, and the base here with the Canadians and that as well. Always let the land and ask for permission to be in certain places when you come with this, because it can kick you in the butt later. But I just want to introduce our king of the Raven tribe, Uluki, Brendan Murray, and I'll just let Brendan go into just a little bit, I guess, of the original people's history and whatever you want to go into, and some updates on some of the latest events and things. Yeah, sure. So, Uluki, Brendan Murray.
Welcome everybody, welcome to the planet, because we've seen that we're all just travellers and visitors anyway. I was lucky in my life to have all the right people up here at the right times to teach me knowledge, and the main knowledge was just about human interaction and on how we, things like never hate. We never hate anybody, we never hate, if we hate somebody, we hate ourselves. Just like somebody, we just like ourselves, because we're all on the same. It's got to explain to me that we're actually all belonging to one big human, and some people live on the finger, some people in the hair, and some people on the nose. So we all belong to the one being, which is the universe. And my people's jurisdiction is south from here, but I'm keen to learn a lot more about this area here. And now a lot of the traditional history, I know a lot of people say Aboriginal, but as Pete says now, the terminology is shifted to original, to the original peoples. We have a lot of stories in our background about the star visitors, and I got explained to me in the early 90s by some of my teachers that when they talked about visitors, they didn't say aliens or UFOs, they just said star people, because they were just like us, just from different places. And where my country is in the Yarra Valley is there's some ancient cave sites down there that hold secrets much similar to the Gosford Glyphs up in New South Wales. And but we don't have that kind of access to these sites just yet. There's a few other sites that we're going to be getting access to, and one is a very special waterfall that's almost 100 metres high, and it's been hidden from the public view for almost 100 years. To talk about our place in the universe, and our people have always known that we're only visitors for a short time to this planet, and that we come and go over the course of lifetimes as well. And when people talk about the rainbow serpent, that is the frequency of our existence. So it's all about the frequency bands and the colours in which we live. And it got explained to me by an old lady in the desert when I visited that place for a little while and got to know them people. And the secrets that she taught me was only could be spoken to me. She couldn't speak it in front of other people. And she said, all the knowledge that I've been given, they said that you'll know when to speak it to the world. And one of those concepts is that we all belong to a frequency and a colour on this great big pyramid of existence. And this whole lady, because my teachers have been males and females. And at the base of the pyramid is red, and it goes up in sequence to purple or violet. Then the capstone is the spectrum repeated. It's a four-sided pyramid. If you look down on it, four sides, two sides are opposing positives, and the other two sides are opposing negatives. They said all living things, including the rivers, streams, plants and insects, and the air, the water, and the ground, all exist on that platform of a negative red or positive blue, and if you're born into the negative red, doesn't mean you're negative. It's just where your place is in the universe. But every so often, there's people born that exist on the whole spectrum, and that's where their capstone of the pyramid comes into it. The capstone is neutral, but it exists on all the colour bands of spectrum. And there was actually a very controversial book put out in the early 90s, paid for by the Australian government, paid an American man to do the research, and because he had some heart about him, he dived straight into the research, started to find all this information that the government didn't want printed. So they told him to rack off back to the States. So he took the information with him, and it had to get published in America. And it's a book called Voices of the First Day, and it's printed by Phoenix Publications in Arizona, I believe. It's a hard book to get a hold of. But in essence, it just talks about that everything and all matter is all about frequency and how together by like physical is a containment of frequency, and that's all we are. And but there's also the variety of the human spirit is more than the variety of the colours of the skins of the earth. There's only 4 or 5 major skin colours of the earth, but there's infinite variety in the spirits of people. And like some people had explained to me that some people who live in their libido all the time and always thinking about that part of life, they belong to the red spectrum, because it's all about the base foundation, which is just co-creation, procreation. And those who are more clairvoyant exist into the violet and the purple spectrum. Those who live through their hearts live in the green spectrum, and so forth with all the different colours of spectrum. The great singers and communicators live in the blue spectrum. But each colour band also has a negative and positive aspect to it. And each colour band, say if Lolita was in the blue spectrum, there would be each band of colour, or each bandwidth on the spectrum has a 0 point in the middle, and then has +3 and -3. So there's that number 7. It just keeps reappearing in the spectrum. Even though the number 9 is heavily involved in there, but the other 2 is not quite fully known about just yet. And I was blessed enough to have contact, like proper full contact, in 2006. So it's been 11 years since I've had contact with what people would call a full alien presence. And it actually turned up at my doorstep on the property I previously lived on. And it's hard to say when these things happen, whether they're visions, dreams, or an event, but we have the memory, and that's what matters most, is that we remember something happened. And not to be frightened or to be spoken about or to be judged for it. I'd rather be judged for being a crazy talker, but then I know I've lost in the masses. So I had a feeling that someone was at my door. And as I opened up the door, coming walking down the pathway in the morning sun, was this star, little starman, about 5 foot tall. He was a mixture of green, grey and brown, but all bundled together, and had a soft look like a frog nose. And as I opened the door and I turned to my family and I said, "You guys stay inside, I've got a visitor, I better see what they want." So I closed the door, and as I stepped out, it was right there, and I said hello. And this being had no mouth. It was just skin. It had nostrils and eyes. And as I said hello, it said, "No need for hello, because you know who we are, and we know who you are. You just need to remember. And then it basically told me to be quiet and listen. And it spoke very blatant and blunt and in point form. And it explained to me that the world leaders that people see as world leaders today are all false. None of them are true leaders by their spirit. And it's because of those false leaders that these beings who have a presence on the earth have not been allowed to mix with humanity. And they come here purely to mix with humanity and to trade knowledge, because we have things to teach them. It's not just about them teaching us. There's something that they all come because they're searching for something from us as well. And I'm not sure what that is. Pretty soon I hope we all find out. So it told me that none of the world leaders were real, they're all false. They come here to meet and mix with humanity. Because of the false leaders, they've been pushed into the darkness of our world. And they don't like to be in the darkness. So they've been travelling around the world seeking out what he called ambassadors. So he said that his species had chosen me as an ambassador for their species. And he also informed me that there was another presence that was going to arrive here in the future that was sent here to destroy us, destroy humanity as a whole. And they weren't going to allow that to happen. So before the end times of our earth, we're going to have these beings appear publicly and help us with technology. When I say technology, that means information to me. Not so much a phone or computer, but technology is information to allow us to transform ourselves into a higher presence of being, which the presence who control our world at the moment don't want. We know that we see it all over the world. We see the darkness seizing control of the world, and it's time for that to end. And by natural universal law, it's happening. Every dynasty falls. Every place has an era of darkness and then light, and then darkness and then light, and darkness and light. We're about to come into our era of light and hopefully achieve our golden age. And again, I'm lucky to have this kind of teachers that I've had over the years who have been just open and accepting of all humans and only see the spirit of humans. All that is irrelevant in the bigger picture of the universe, and my teachers and mentors understood that and made sure that I listened and understood that as well. And as we go through, if there's any questions people want to ask, that'll help give you props as well, because I haven't got my notes with me today. Not that I carry any. And the teleprompter's not working. So yeah, if there's any questions or interruptions are good.
Yeah, I wanted to say something, Brendan. And I may have already spoken to you about this, and I've spoken to some people about this, but I received recently a message that the spiritual center of our Earth will be in Australia, that will come back to Australia, and that Australia will kind of hold the frequency for the enlightenment of the entire planet. And when I was speaking to Pete and Silretta and Lolita in the car about this, it almost felt like Australia will be like the ark of holding the frequency, but also the species and the plants and everything becoming more sentient and alive and beautiful and vibrant again. And it will be here, and it will like radiate out throughout our planet. What do you think about that?
But that's an idea or a concept that we do hold close. And we knew it. We didn't know what form it was going to take, or in what time frame or timeline. Because now I wake up on a daily basis wondering what timeline we're on. Even it's sort of getting that way. I wouldn't have a clue what day it was half the time. and my wife now sort of waking up like, what day is it? I don't know. Doesn't matter anymore. And And there is a great couple of secrets that's been spoken to me in recent time, because what's happening is a convergence of water realities is starting to come into an access point. And I picture it like a, do you know what a dorje is? A Tibetan tool. You know, it branches out and then comes into the end, and it branches out again. And you can imagine timelines and realities are like that. They branch out and come back in to a cluster, tighten it back out again. When it comes into that cluster, then the frequencies all start to intermingle and tune into each other, much like a bunch of women's cycles coming together. When they get together, it's just frequency starts to gravitate towards each other, and everyone gets in tune. And that's what the realities are like. The realities now are starting to tune into each other, and I've seen and heard things coming out of other realities and other dimensions, and I've sort of had to sit back and question myself. Firstly, make sure there's nothing physical around making those sounds or creating those images, and then, but talk about the ark. I was blessed enough to be given information about the Simpson Desert recently, in the past 5 years, and I hadn't spoken about it to a lot of people. But most of the Simpson Desert has actually been closed off by the elitists, because they claim that they were tired of going out and picking up tourists in the desert. But that's a poor excuse. What they actually discovered was these large underground cabins in there, and the information was that it's full of life. And these cabins are huge, like the size of the Yarra Valley or the Ovens Valley here, all underground, and it's full of all the creatures of the earth that has ever existed. And they're talking about a lot of the albino or the white creatures as well, like white lions, elephants, giraffes, butterflies, trees from all over the world, all coexisting in these huge caverns underneath the Simpson Desert. And what's really screwing with the people who discovered it was that there's light there, but there's no generator of the light, and that's really messing with them. They don't know what's creating the light. It just exists. It's just glowing out of everything that's in there. And we see that as an arc as well. And we see the centre of Australia as the heart chakra of the world. And one of the great concepts of coming to understand and accept truth is to make all your decisions through your heart and not let your mind or your brain make any important decisions. That's like secondary to what we should be saying, doing and acting and being like on a day-to-day basis. And so eventually, you know, when I start talking about heart space to people, people really are changing and opening up. I spent a long time in a town called Hillsville in the Yarra Valley, and it was well-known redneck territory. But I had guys who were even rednecks called rednecks and come up to me and sort of take off their hat and say, I don't know what it is, Brendan, but like one guy who was the redneck of rednecks, apparently.
King of the rednecks.
Yeah, he got the stubby shorts on and the stubby singlet on and the bluntstones and the cowboy hat. We passed in the street for years just nodding at each other. And I thought, Barker, we're going to stop and talk next time. So I pulled up one day and talked to him. He goes, you know, Brendan, he goes, I was up on the Murray River fishing just recently. And I normally go with my mates and we take the dogs and beer and guns. But this time I just took me and my dogs and just thought we'd just go and have some time together. And you know what? I had my fishing line in the water, Brendan, and something told me I was going to catch a fish. And buggered, I did. I caught the fish I got the message, I caught the fish. But I don't know what it was. And in the main streets of this town, I just put my hand up over his heart and I said, it seems like you've been touched, Jack. You've been touched by the land. And he's almost tearing up and he shook his head and he put his hat back on. He goes, yeah. Looked around, make sure no one was watching. Yeah, that's it, man. And it was some of the teachings that was taught to me, that everyone changes and everyone has to be given that room and time and space change. And that, we're always in a constant state of change. And that's just part of the universe, part of this world, and there's not much we can really do about it. There's some really stubborn, ignorant people out there who know that. But they're going to change too. They'll just be there later on in the picture. And I look forward to, I actually look forward to jumping on the ship actually and heading out. Or heading in. Or whatever the next transformation for us is. But I do understand that some of the messages that I've received is that our next existence will be of a crystalline nature. That we're moving into the crystalline era of our existence, away from carbon life forms. And what it is, apparently there's one form of carbon which is crystalline, and the elite who have got contact with some very nasty aliens who want to contain and control us all, they know this, and they know that the sun is changing in order to create this crystalline structure within us. And part of the chemtrail, and I guess a multifaceted weapon against humanity. Not only do they put sickness and flus and things in it, it's got nanobots in it, it's got other elements in it to block out the specific spectrum of the sun, which is transforming us, transforming ourselves. So we need to get rid of that off the world, and or even just make a heap of chembusters, if you know what they are. In order, because sometimes people say, oh no, you've got to let the world go as it is, but sometimes the world needs champions. And because not everyone gets the idea that we can make our change. So we can encourage it, talk it, and fight for it. That's me.
What sort of things can we do to support that process? Because from my understanding is we are with the crystal, but we have to remember that or be conscious of it. Or
Yeah, well, that's the main message that I keep getting in it, is that the messages come through that, and they say you have to remember. You have to remember what and who you are, and this isn't it. This is just another dream world that we've been contained in. And we've got to break that containment cycle, which has been happening. There's tribes in Australia who have been influenced by the reptilian races for this time around, because this is not the first time we've been here. This is the fourth time, according to my teachers. One of my teachers, who was a beautiful Native American medicine man named Wallace Black Elk, who became my spiritual grandfather, some of the things he taught me, he said, grandson, this is the fourth time we've been trapped into this existence. He said, but this will be the last time, they're going to make sure of that. He said, we've risen to the nuclear age 3 times before in our, just on this time frame on this world. And that we've defeated that before and set the world back to provincial way of thinking and back to tribality. And there's nothing in history is as we've been taught to believe. You know, like I got taught terra nullius at primary school. And terra nullius means empty lands. You know, they were Commonwealth got here, and it was terra nullius. It was vacant land, and we're like, hello. Oh no, you don't exist. Sorry. Back in your box. But it's, again, like we don't judge the darkness, because it too has its right to exist and have its time, but the time, its dynasty is crashing now. And we know that there's a lot of talk about the golden age coming in, and we're going to get it. There's no doubt about it, and I'm thinking it hard too, because that's the power of us manifesting as well. We can manifest our realities. And yes.
How can we deal with the chemtrails? What could we do individually?
Well, I've been learning about chembusters, to create chembusters, and as soon as we get enough resource behind us, as in financing and that, we're going to find some properties around the outskirts of Melbourne and build some big chembusters. But apparently they give off a certain aura that the elite can find and track, and they come and destroy them. But, you know, we just have to keep believing in ourselves and believe that we're not alone. And we've all seen too much evidence that we're not alone in this world and in this universe. And I'm even coming to the point where we are all little epitomes of the universe anyway. We've got the universe inside us. And we have to remember how to journey within ourselves again. And to tap into that inner source and the inner power. Because I don't think there's any separation anymore between people. Like some of the negatives and the archons want you to be standing alone. And if you take the lone path, then you will be alone, and you'll manifest that loneliness. So, like, I've been talking to people lately who are about to become wealthy, and they want to help fund things, but stay behind the scenes. You know, I would think to myself, gee, I'd love to just drop out of the world and just fade out of reality, because I've been fading out of this modern reality, which isn't a reality as we know. It's an illusion and a matrix. I'm glad I've been forced out of it, pushed out of it by darkness itself. Every time they do an attack on me, I get this great lesson, and they do me wondrous things. Every time they do something to me, I get to go, yeah, that's right. And I don't judge them or hate them for it. And I just know that the change is coming, and I keep manifesting that and seeing it in people as well. You know, I like to say people as there's no persons, there's only peoples. And we truly are all one.